Mr. Patterson, the family lawyer, began reading in a calm, measured tone. I, Harold Carver, having witnessed the passion and perseverance of my children, have decided that the future of Carver Couture must rest with those who have truly carried on my vision. My pulse raced as his words hung in the silence. Then, with deliberate clarity, he continued, to my beloved daughter, Diane Carver, I bequeath the controlling interest of Carver Couture. Welcome to DCM Reddit, tell me what time it is and where you are in the world, my love, please help me subscribe and comment. Now let's follow the story. I grew up in the heart of New York City, where every seam and sketch at Carver Couture told a story of passion, sweat, and legacy. My name is Diane Carver, I'm 30, and for as long as I can remember, our family's bespoke fashion house was my world. Every late night spent poring over designs and every challenge overcome in the workshop was a tribute to my late father, Harold Carver, who built the business from scratch. I wasn't just his daughter, I was the driving force behind Carver Couture's success. My older brother, Victor, now 33, always had the spotlight. With his easy charm and dazzling smile, he was seen as the natural heir, a man born to represent our brand to the world. But beneath that polished exterior, I knew his dedication to the craft was more for show than substance. While I worked tirelessly to perfect every detail, Victor enjoyed the adoration of clients and the quick approval of our mother, Catherine, whose old-school ideas dictated that leadership should come from the man of the house. As Dad's health declined, the once close bond between us began to crack. Catherine openly championed Victor, insisting that the family business needed someone who could handle the public eye. Diane, you've done well behind the scenes, she would say with a dismissive smile, but the real face of Carver Couture belongs to Victor. The word stung, yet I persisted, convinced that our father's true legacy lay not in glamour, but in the hard work and heart poured into every collection. Then came the day that shattered our world, a cold, overcast afternoon when we gathered in a modest Manhattan law office for the reading of Dad's will. The air was thick with anticipation and unspoken tension as we sat across from each other at a long conference table. Victor's expression was one of smug confidence, while I felt a cocktail of anxiety and a desperate hope that justice might still prevail. Mr. Patterson, the family lawyer, began reading in a calm, measured tone. I, Harold Carver, having witnessed the passion and perseverance of my children, have decided that the future of Carver Couture must rest with those who have truly carried on my vision. My pulse raced as his words hung in the silence. Then, with deliberate clarity, he continued, to my beloved daughter, Diane Carver, I bequeath the controlling interest of Carver Couture. For a moment, time itself seemed to pause. I sat frozen, a mix of disbelief and bittersweet relief surging through me. Across the table, Victor's confident demeanor crumbled into shock and anger. His eyes, which had always sparkled with self-assurance, now burned with a fury I had never seen before. Catherine's face was a mask of conflicted emotion, between pride for my father's trust and loyalty to her son. As Mr. Patterson detailed the provisions that solidified my new role, the full magnitude of the moment hit me. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night in the studio, and every painstaking detail I'd nurtured for years culminated in this defining revelation. Yet, as the lawyer's voice faded into the background, I sensed that this was merely the spark for a much larger conflict. The legacy of Harold Carver was now mine to protect, and the battle for its future had just begun. Stepping out into the chilly Manhattan air, I couldn't shake the feeling of both triumph and impending turmoil. The corridors of that law office echoed with whispers and silent judgments. I knew that the family ties that once bound us were fraying fast, and that Victor, along with Catherine's unwavering support for him, would not let this decision go unanswered. In that moment, beneath a sky as gray as my uncertain future, I vowed to honor my father's memory by preserving the integrity of Carver Couture. I would fight, not just for the business, but for the truth that had been hidden for far too long. Little did I know that the real test of loyalty, ambition, and family secrets was waiting just around the corner. In the wake of the shocking will reading, my life transformed overnight. As the newly confirmed head of Carver Couture, I was thrust into a corporate battleground where every decision felt like a defensive move against unseen forces. The first major test came during a tense board meeting at our sleek Manhattan headquarters. I entered the conference room with a mix of determination and trepidation, aware that many board members still carried the lingering loyalty to Victor and his old-fashioned charm. I began by outlining my vision for Carver Couture, a commitment to innovation while preserving the timeless elegance that my father had built. I emphasized transparency in our operations, reinforcing the idea that every employee, every supplier, was integral to our legacy. Despite the careful planning and the strength of my record, the room buzzed with silent skepticism. I caught furtive glances from those who had once championed Victor's style over substance. After the meeting, Mr. Reyes, a trusted board member who had quietly supported me for years, approached me. In a hushed tone, he revealed troubling news. Victor had been seen meeting with rival firms and influential vendors, trying to sway them away from our long-standing partnerships. "He's undermining everything you've built," he warned, his eyes searching mine for understanding. That revelation stung deeply. It was clear that my brother was not willing to let go of his ambitions without a fight. Determined to protect our legacy, I launched an internal review of our financial and operational records. Late nights in the office became routine as I scrutinized every invoice, contract, and correspondence. The deeper I delved, the more I discovered subtle signs of sabotage, a series of small, inexplicable discrepancies that together painted a picture of deliberate manipulation. Unusual vendor contracts, unexpected shifts in our supply chain schedules, and erratic financial entries all pointed to one conclusion: someone was trying to erode my authority from within. Throughout this turmoil, our mother Catherine remained an enigma. Every attempt to reach out was met with measured, guarded responses. I sensed that her heart was torn between the son she had long adored and the daughter who had devoted her life to the company's success. Her silence spoke volumes, leaving me to wonder if I could ever bridge the growing chasm between us. Then, one particularly cold evening, an anonymous email arrived in my inbox. The message was brief yet chilling. It hinted at a coordinated effort to falsify records and disrupt our supply chain. The digital signature was untraceable, but its implications were clear. Victor was not just content with his new role as a disgraced would-be heir, he was actively plotting to dismantle everything I had worked so hard to preserve. Sitting in the quiet of my office, I felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on me. I had inherited not only a legacy of style and craftsmanship but also a battleground of hidden agendas and familial betrayal. With every shred of evidence I uncovered, my resolve hardened. I wasn't fighting out of a desire for revenge, I was defending a dream, my father's dream, for the sake of every person who believed in Carver Couture. As the city's nightscape shimmered outside my window, I made a silent promise: I would expose every lie, counter every scheme, and restore the integrity of our family business. The coming days would test my strength, resolve, and ability to stand against the relentless tide of betrayal. And so, with a heart both burdened and emboldened, I prepared to meet the challenges head-on. The day of reckoning finally arrived. After countless sleepless nights and relentless investigations, I, Diane Carver, had gathered every shred of evidence that Victor's sabotage had threatened not only Carver Couture but the very legacy of my father. With the weight of hidden emails, forged documents, and digital footprints pressing on my conscience, I scheduled an emergency board meeting at our sleek Manhattan headquarters. The boardroom buzzed with a tense energy as I took my seat at the head of the polished oak table. Across from me, Victor lounged with the same casual arrogance that had once so infuriated me. His eyes darted nervously between the assembled board members, old allies who had once cheered his every move, and me, the newly anointed guardian of our family's vision. I began, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside me. Today, I'm not here to debate style or strategy. I'm here to protect the integrity of Carver Couture and honor the legacy of our father. I paused, letting my words sink in before sliding a thick dossier across the table. Within this dossier is undeniable evidence of deliberate sabotage, email correspondences, unauthorized system logins, and falsified vendor contracts, all orchestrated to undermine our company's foundation. A murmur ran through the room. Eyes fixed on the dossier, and then back to Victor. His smug expression began to crack as one board member, Mr. Reyes, spoke up, "Diane, this evidence is troubling. It appears that our business relationships and financial records have been tampered with deliberately." Victor's facade faltered. "This is absurd," he snapped, but the shaking in his voice betrayed him. "I never did anything like this." I met his gaze, my resolve hardening. "Victor, the trail is clear. I have records of your unauthorized access to our internal systems and emails that detail your attempts to redirect major accounts to a rival firm. This isn't just poor judgment, it's betrayal." Silence fell heavy over the table as the board members exchanged incredulous looks. One by one, they began to question Victor, each inquiry stripping away the layers of his self-assured arrogance. Meanwhile, Catherine sat in the back, her face an unreadable mask of regret and sorrow, a stark reminder that the family's fractures ran deeper than business strategy. Unable to muster a convincing defense, Victor's voice eventually broke into a stutter. I was trying to prove myself. I never meant to." His protest was cut short as another board member, Ms. Lively, declared firmly, "Your actions have cost us dearly. It's time for accountability." The vote that followed was unanimous. In that moment, as the board members cast their votes to remove Victor from any managerial role, I felt a bittersweet victory. Not only had I salvaged Carver Couture from imminent ruin, but I had also finally honored my father's wish to see the company thrive under the guidance of someone who truly understood its soul. After the meeting, as the board adjourned and whispers filled the hallways, I caught sight of Catherine in a quiet corner. For a brief, heartbreaking moment, our eyes met, hers filled with remorse and mine with steeled determination. Without exchanging a word, we both knew that the scars of our family's betrayal would take time to heal. Walking back to my office, I paused by the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city. The sprawling lights of Manhattan reminded me that while darkness had fallen over our family legacy, there was still hope on the horizon, a chance to rebuild, to innovate, and to lead Carver Couture into a new era of honesty and creative brilliance. I knew the battle was far from over. The public fallout, the media scrutiny, and the lingering personal wounds would all demand my attention in the coming months. But for now, I allowed myself a moment of quiet triumph. I had stood up for what was right and taken the first decisive step toward protecting everything my father had built. In the weeks following the decisive board meeting, the echoes of that fateful day continued to reverberate throughout Carver Couture and the bustling streets of New York. The scandal had captured the public's attention, and every headline seemed to dissect our family drama as if it were a work of art in itself. Yet beneath the swirling media storm, I, Diane Carver, knew that my true battle was to reclaim our company's soul and reshape its future. Determined to seize control of our narrative, I organized a press conference in a modest yet elegant event space near Bryant Park. Standing before a sea of reporters and industry influencers, I recounted the true story behind the upheaval, a story of dedication, late nights in the design studio, and the relentless pursuit of excellence that had defined Carver Couture since my father's humble beginnings. I addressed the painful revelations with unflinching honesty, emphasizing that while our family had been fractured by betrayal, the legacy of Harold Carver was one of resilience and innovation. The response was immediate. Loyal customers and longtime employees flooded us with messages of support, their faith in our brand reaffirming that the heart of Carver Couture still beat strong. Among those who reached out was Catherine, my mother, whose voice trembled with remorse during a quiet, tearful conversation in her small apartment overlooking Central Park. "I was wrong to side with Victor," she admitted softly. Though her confession couldn't erase the past, it sparked a small hope that the wounds of our family might one day begin to heal. Despite the newfound support, the threat of further sabotage loomed large. Rumors emerged that Victor, though publicly disgraced, had been quietly courting unsavory allies and negotiating with a rival conglomerate that eyed our brand as an easy takeover. Late one rainy evening, one of my trusted advisors confided in me about clandestine meetings arranged behind closed doors, a plot to absorb Carver Couture at a fraction of its true worth. It was a stark reminder that the battle for our legacy was far from over. Refusing to let Carver Couture slip away, I set about transforming our operations from the ground up. Drawing on every lesson my father had ever taught me, I initiated a comprehensive restructuring of our production lines, modernized our supply chain, and, most importantly, steered the creative team toward a bold, new vision. The result was a groundbreaking collection that seamlessly fused the timeless elegance of our heritage with a fresh, modern edge. The launch of the new collection was nothing short of a spectacle. Held in a renovated historic theater in downtown Manhattan, the intimate fashion show attracted industry elites and loyal patrons alike. As the models graced the stage in designs that spoke of innovation and respect for tradition, the audience's captivated silence turned into an eruption of applause, a public endorsement of the new chapter of Carver Couture. In that luminous moment, it became clear that our brand was ready to rise above the chaos. Backstage, as I watched the final moments of the show with a mix of exhaustion and triumph, I realized that this was more than just a professional victory. Every setback, every betrayal had forged in me a strength and clarity I had never known. I was no longer simply defending a business, I was protecting my father's dream and affirming my identity as its true heir. Each stitch in our new collection represented a step toward healing, a promise to build a future defined not by old wounds, but by integrity and creativity. Yet even as Carver Couture began to regain its footing, I remained vigilant. The ghost of Victor's treachery still lingered, a stark reminder that ambition unchecked could lead to ruin. I resolved to keep a watchful eye on every corner of our operations, ensuring that no further attempt at sabotage would undermine the trust painstakingly rebuilt over years of hard work. As the night drew to a close and the theater emptied, I stepped outside into the cool New York air. The city lights shimmered like distant beacons of hope, reminding me that while the journey ahead might be fraught with challenges, I was not alone. With the support of a dedicated team, loyal clients, and even a repentant mother willing to face her past, I felt ready to forge a new legacy for Carver Couture, one built on truth, resilience, and the unwavering spirit of innovation. Thank you for listening to the story until now. Please comment and share your thoughts here. To help me have more motivation to come up with more interesting stories, please subscribe to the channel. In the wake of our triumphant collection launch, the future of Carver Couture seemed bright. But as summer's heat yielded to the crisp promise of early fall, a subtle unease began to creep in. One late evening, after a marathon day of meetings and design revisions, I returned to my office only to find an unmarked envelope resting on my desk. Inside was a handwritten note. The past is never truly buried. Your legacy is fragile. Beware. The chilling message sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't help but wonder, was this the lingering echo of Victor's vendetta, or had a new adversary emerged, intent on dismantling everything we'd rebuilt? Without hesitation, I convened an emergency meeting with my inner circle, Ms. Lively, Mr. Reyes, and our newly recruited head of security, Liam Carter, a former NYPD detective with a reputation for uncovering corporate espionage. Liam's report was unsettling. Our surveillance cameras had captured a shadowy figure skulking near the flagship warehouse late at night, and several anonymous tips hinted at a mysterious investor, codenamed the Raven, who might be orchestrating a covert takeover with ties to Victor's old network. Haunted by memories of past betrayals yet fueled by the lessons I'd learned, I resolved that Carver Couture would not fall prey to another scheme. I ramped up security protocols, initiated a comprehensive audit of our financial and operational records, and personally reached out to our key partners to reaffirm our commitment to transparency and excellence. Every step I took was a declaration: this legacy, built by my father's sweat, passion, and unyielding vision, would be fiercely protected. That night, as I pored over hours of surveillance footage in my dimly lit office, a figure clad in a dark hoodie emerged from the shadows near our loading docks. Though the encounter was brief, it confirmed my worst fears: someone was deliberately undermining our stability. The sight of that elusive intruder was a stark reminder that the forces of chaos and ambition were still at work, ready to exploit any sign of vulnerability. In a rare moment of candor, my mother, Catherine, reached out to me later that evening. Her voice trembled with remorse as she admitted that she, too, had sensed danger lurking in the background, her own regrets for past decisions fueling a desperate need to warn me. Her unexpected vulnerability only strengthened my resolve. I realized that this battle was not only about corporate survival but about mending a fractured family legacy and honoring the dreams my father had entrusted to us. As dawn broke over the Manhattan skyline, I stood before the mirrored window of my office, gathering the courage to face another day of this unfolding war. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty and rife with threats, both seen and unseen, but I knew that true leadership is forged in adversity. With Liam's vigilant eyes, my trusted advisors at my back, and an unwavering commitment to our heritage, I was determined to confront this new enemy and secure Carver Couture's future once and for all. The war for our legacy had taken a darker, more insidious turn. And as the first light of day painted the city in hopeful hues, I could only promise myself this: I would never let deceit and treachery rewrite the story my father began. The early winter chill had only deepened the sense of unease at Carver Couture. In the days following that unsettling night when I caught the hooded figure on camera, every creak of the building and every whispered rumor felt like a threat. Determined not to let fear compromise my father's legacy, I summoned Liam Carter to my office at the break of dawn. Liam's eyes were steeled with resolve as he reviewed the latest surveillance logs on his tablet. "Diane, I've cross-referenced the footage from the warehouse with recent activity in the area," he said quietly. "There's a pattern emerging. Every intrusion happens on nights when we're about to finalize a major supplier contract or unveil a new collection." His finger paused over a time-stamped clip. "This isn't random. It's calculated sabotage." I nodded slowly, the weight of responsibility pressing on my shoulders. "We need to find out who's behind the Raven, and why they're targeting us." Later that afternoon, as I prepared for an emergency board meeting, an encrypted email landed in my inbox. The subject line read simply, "For the sake of Carver Couture." Inside was a collection of documents, anonymous vendor communications, off-market deals, and internal memos hinting at a covert alliance between a mysterious investor group and former allies of Victor. The email ended with a stark warning. "Cease your investigation, or the next move will be your downfall." My pulse quickened as I absorbed the contents. I knew that this was more than just a petty vendetta from a disgraced brother. It was a coordinated attempt to wrest control of everything my father had built. With the evidence in hand, I convened a meeting with Mr. Reyes and Ms. Lively in one of the conference rooms overlooking the city. "I've uncovered proof that there's an external group involved," I explained, laying out printed copies of the digital trail. "They're leveraging Victor's old network, but this goes deeper. A hostile takeover is in the works. We must secure our contracts, our client relationships, and our intellectual property immediately." Mr. Reyes, his face etched with concern, added, "We need a cybersecurity expert on board, someone who can trace these digital footprints and shut down their access points before they cause irreversible damage." As plans began to take shape, hiring experts, bolstering our IT defenses, and reinforcing security around our facilities, a new shock hit me later that evening. Returning to my car after a late meeting, I found a neatly folded note tucked under the windshield wiper. In bold, unforgiving script, it read, "Your legacy is not yours to protect alone. We will reclaim what is rightfully ours." The message sent a chill through my veins. I couldn't help but wonder if Catherine might hold some keys to this mystery. That night, over a quiet dinner in her modest apartment, I gently broached the subject. Catherine's eyes, usually guarded, flickered with a mixture of regret and fear. "There were whispers long ago," she murmured. "When your father first built Carver Couture, there were rivals who envied his success, and allies who thought they could claim a share of the dream. I always hoped it would remain in our family, but sometimes the past has a way of resurfacing." Her confession, though cryptic, only fueled my determination. With every piece of evidence and every threat, I felt the fire of my father's vision burning brighter within me. I resolved then that I would not yield to intimidation. I would expose the conspiracies, outmaneuver those who sought to dismantle our legacy, and steer Carver Couture toward a future where creativity and integrity reigned supreme. The coming days promised to be a gauntlet of challenges, a battle fought on both digital and personal fronts. Yet, as I looked out over the glimmering New York skyline from my office window, I knew that every struggle, every sleepless night, was a tribute to the relentless spirit my father instilled in us. And I vowed, with unwavering resolve, that the true story of Carver Couture would be written by those who dared to stand for truth. The morning after the ominous note, I arrived at Carver Couture's headquarters with a heavy sense of foreboding. As I reviewed the latest security footage with Liam Carter, our head of security, my heart sank. A shadowy figure had breached the perimeter once again, this time, not just lurking in the dark but attempting to tamper with our digital systems. Liam's voice was low and urgent as he explained, "Diane, our cybersecurity logs show a coordinated hacking attempt on our internal network. Whoever the Raven is, they're escalating their tactics." Determined not to let our legacy crumble, I convened an emergency meeting with our board and an external cybersecurity expert, Ms. Harper. In a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city, Ms. Harper laid out the disturbing details. "The digital trail points to a sophisticated group with intimate knowledge of our operations," she revealed. "They're using advanced malware and deceptive proxies to hide their tracks. This isn't just a random act, it's a targeted assault designed to cripple our financial systems and discredit our brand." The gravity in her tone made it clear, Carver Couture was now in the crosshairs of a high-stakes conspiracy. As the meeting adjourned, a new message arrived, a cryptic text urging me to meet an anonymous informant at a discreet location after hours. My pulse quickened. With no time to lose, I arranged to meet the source in a quiet, dimly lit cafe in Brooklyn, a neighborhood known for its secrets and safe havens alike. There, seated in a secluded corner, was a man named Marcus, a former employee of Carver Couture whose loyalty had never wavered despite being let go years ago. His eyes held a mixture of caution and resolve as he leaned forward and whispered, "I have information that could expose the true mastermind behind the Raven. This isn't just an external threat, it's a betrayal that runs closer to home than you might think." Marcus revealed that the conspiracy extended beyond rogue investors and rival firms. It involved a network of disgruntled ex-partners and, shockingly, hinted at someone from within our own circle. He described a meticulously planned cyber attack aimed at our main server facility in Brooklyn, an assault designed to bring our operations to a grinding halt. Returning to headquarters with this harrowing intelligence, I immediately called Liam, M.S. Harper, and the rest of my trusted advisors for an urgent strategy session. In our fortified boardroom, tension and determination mingled as we mapped out a counteroffensive. I stood before the assembled team, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. My father built this company on the values of honesty, creativity, and perseverance. We will not allow greed and betrayal to undo his legacy. We have the evidence, we have the resolve, and together, we will protect Carver Couture. Plans were set in motion, enhanced cybersecurity measures, round-the-clock surveillance at the Brooklyn facility, and a coordinated effort to trace every digital footprint left by our attackers. As the day turned to dusk, I retreated to my office for a rare moment of solitude. Standing by the window, I gazed out over the city's glittering skyline, a mosaic of hope and hidden struggles. The weight of our legacy, the betrayal of those once trusted, and the looming threat of the Raven pressed on me like never before. Yet in that quiet moment, a spark of determination ignited within me. I vowed that no matter how deep the betrayal or how fierce the onslaught, I would fight with every ounce of strength I possessed. The legacy my father built was more than a business, it was a dream that demanded to survive. And as the city lights flickered like distant beacons of hope, I knew this battle was only beginning. In the days following our urgent strategy meeting, the storm that had loomed over Carver Couture began to break. With Marcus's crucial tip and the relentless work of our cybersecurity team led by Ms. Harper, we finally uncovered the full extent of the conspiracy. The digital trail revealed that the Raven was not a single mastermind but a small cabal of disgruntled ex-partners, and, shockingly, Victor was at the very center of it all. Armed with irrefutable evidence, I called an emergency board meeting. The boardroom, once again filled with hushed tension and wary eyes, became the stage for a reckoning. I laid out the dossier: logs of unauthorized system accesses, encrypted emails linking Victor to the sabotage, and financial discrepancies orchestrated to cripple our operations. As each piece of evidence was presented, the murmurs grew louder until, finally, silence fell. Victor's face paled, his earlier arrogance replaced by a dawning realization that his carefully constructed web was unraveling. One by one, the board members voiced their disapproval. With unanimous resolve, they voted to terminate his position, and to notify law enforcement of his criminal actions. In that decisive moment, the future of Carver Couture was reclaimed. A few days later, in a quiet press conference held at our headquarters, I addressed the public. I spoke not just of corporate resilience, but of the values that had built our family's legacy. Today, I declared, we put an end to betrayal and sabotage. Carver Couture stands as a testament to hard work, honesty, and creativity, and we will move forward stronger than ever. The story that once threatened to tear us apart now became a rallying cry for renewal. At home, a final confrontation with Catherine brought a bittersweet closure to years of fractured loyalties. In a tearful conversation over coffee in her modest apartment, she admitted, "I made choices that hurt our family, and I'm sorry I let Victor's ambition overshadow our true legacy." While the wounds of the past would take time to heal, her sincere regret marked the beginning of a long-overdue reconciliation. In the months that followed, we fortified every aspect of Carver Couture, from bolstering cybersecurity and streamlining operations to nurturing the creative spirit that had always been our greatest asset. The new collection, inspired by the trials we had endured, debuted to overwhelming acclaim. It was a collection that spoke of resilience, transformation, and the enduring power of family and vision. Standing before the soaring skyline of New York City from my office window one crisp evening, I reflected on the tumultuous journey. The legacy my father built was no longer a battleground for betrayal, it had become a beacon of hope, innovation, and integrity. I knew the challenges of the past had forged in me a strength I never knew I possessed. Carver Couture was not just a business, it was a living, evolving tribute to our family's dreams. With the conspiracies exposed and the saboteurs held accountable, I embraced the future with unwavering determination. The legacy was mine to protect, nurture, and build upon. And as the city lights shimmered below, I felt a quiet certainty: the true spirit of Carver Couture, and of our family, would shine brightly for generations to come. And that wraps up today's story. I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your feelings. Did you connect with any of the characters? Or if you were in their shoes, what decision would you make? I'd love to hear from all of you. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more exciting content coming your way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have an amazing day.